about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
Strand Podcast.
The amount of evidence for the reality of the Allagash abductions for any other subject, any mundane subject, in a court of law, you could hang a person probably. But because of the bizarre nature of the case, that's not going to happen. People aren't going to accept that evidence, although the evidence is there.
Part of me telling this to the world to prove what happened to me and removal of the object, and it was at emitting radio frequency. It has to be an alien impact.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. It's been a bit, just a little bit. Well, only because I got this nasty cold, man. I don't know if you guys got it a few weeks back. It was all over the news and all over the place, and it was like the three mixes of COVID or whatever it was. I don't know if I got it or what, but man, it really messed with my throat. And it's bad enough that I already have enough issues with coughing sometimes. You always catch me doing that on these podcasts, but it happens, and I don't edit anything out. I want everybody to know that when I do these podcasts, I do them on the fly. I do everything on the fly. I don't practice. I don't do anything like that. I just go for it, man, because you know why? Because I'm a citizen ufologist, right? And I'm just giving you the information as it comes out, right? And I want you guys to know as a natural speaking voice, right? Because that's what I do. I don't talk in these high, big words, and I don't do that. I just speak normally, like a normal human being, a normal person. And I joke around a lot. That's what I do. Yeah. But anyway, let me get back to that. So I had gotten really sick, right? And it was my throat. I was coughing, and oh my God, I could not stop coughing for 2 weeks, man. And I was like, you know what? I can't do the podcast like that because it would just be too interruptive. You know what I mean? So, and I said, well, let me see if I can do it today, right? So here's what I'm doing. I'm doing it today. Yes, I am. And, I wanted to get this podcast out to you. It's called The Meeting. And I'll get to the information here as soon as here in a minute. But I just want to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. And I just want to say thank you, a big thank you to everybody out there that has joined the Patreon page. Oh my God, it's starting to blow up. Everybody's starting to go to Patreon to see the special podcasts that are out there only for Patreon members. You can be a free member, yes, and you'll get some content there, pretty good stuff. But as a paid member, it's only $5 a month, man. What is that? A bag of chips and a Coke? Come on, man, $5 a month, and you'll get to, now I just put up 3 books to download. So go check those out. And that's for paid members, and you get to download it and read them for free. Hey, That's my gift to you, for saying thank you for being a part of a paid membership. You can be a free one too, and I really appreciate you guys too. Because I've got like 15, 20 more that just came on board, and I do have a big chat room there, so I do throw out little notes and upcoming events that are coming, and everything's there on Patreon, man. Go check it out. There's a lot of cool downloads there for you too. In other words, if you into classified or declassified information, I do have a lot of top secret there that has been declassified. You can purchase there too, and it's there for you guys. And I believe it's some of it's as well as for paid members. You can download that for free as a paid member. So go to our Patreon, look for Alien Strand Extras. Go check that out. All right. Also, you're listening on 26 to 28 platforms of audio, which is Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, CastBox, Amazon, Alexa, you name it. Every platform you listen to audio, we look for Alien Strand, even your Apple. Go to Apple Podcasts, and you can find Alien Strand Podcast. Save it to your favorites. Put a little heart there, thumbs up on everything you do, even on our YouTube. Please subscribe, hit the bell. Go to our Rumble for our live podcast. Remember that we have a live podcast every Thursday night at 7:45 p.m. That's 7:45 p.m. Central Time. We go live, right? So you can see this face, and then I show you a lot of pretty cool videos, and I break them down for you. I get to talk to, we get a spokesman to come in for 15 minutes of fame. You get to see them in our conversation of theirs as well, and you'll also see one of their conversations also on Patreon that you won't see anywhere else, all right? So that's the good thing about Patreon. I do special podcasts only for them, and you won't catch it everywhere else, all right? So please join that, YouTube, all the good stuff. I appreciate everything that everybody does for Alien Strand. Now, I've rambled enough on that crap. So, what has been going on with all these scientists missing and all this stuff that's happening? I'm going to do a podcast about that, believe me. Not today, but it was just kind of intriguing me a little bit that all of a sudden we're getting all this all these government entities that are starting to get themselves involved in declassifying UFO files and just declassifying everything and getting the industrial complex out there, and a lot more people are starting to speak about it, right? They're starting to tell their stories. A lot more people are starting to come out now of what they've seen. A lot of Congress people are actually doing this now. So there's more people jumping on board, which means we might get a little bit more information. I believe they have seen photos of a non-human intelligence of a body, right? So they know that they do have an extraterrestrial body, right? Of some sort, because they've seen photos of it. They just can't show the photos. They know it exists. So, which means they know we have it, right? Which is the United States, all right? So I'm not saying other countries don't have it. I guarantee you the other countries have had it, because not only that the UFOs crash in the United States, they crash all over the world, even in the oceans, right? So, hey, Baltic Sea anomaly, right? Hey, is that a UFO? I think it is. I think it's been there for a long, long time. Anyway, so they're starting to come out with all this information. All these nuclear physicists are now starting to disappear. They're leaving. They're leaving their homes without their cell phones. Everything's been happening to these folks, right? But I am going to do a podcast. I'm going to dive in deep about that on the next one. But I just wanted to touch base with you guys. What do you guys think that is? Well, why, right? Why all of a sudden all these people are disappearing or coming out deceased, right? Is there something they know or something they've seen that we don't know? Maybe. And that's just something we have to speculate just a little bit, right? And because we can only guess at this point. We don't have our eyes on anything, on any of that good stuff, right? And there's some things that we have seen. There's some things that they have declassified. So if you go to the National Archives, sometimes you'll get some good stuff, but you really got to dig, right? Because if you don't do your homework and you don't do your research, you're not going to find it. But guess what? Alien Strand has found a lot of good stuff for you guys, and we have it there on our Patreon. So be sure to go there and go check it out. There's a lot of good stuff to download. Anyway, so as we were talking about this, it's just my thoughts on that is just kind of strange that all of a sudden all these things are starting to happen and people are starting to disappear. Top military people, right? And why? Right? And now we're starting to get Cowbell and getting his films out there. Things are starting to happen. You're starting to see a lot more things happening out there as far as these documentaries, right? And I'm not downing these documentaries, but it's just like Joe Rogan said. He says, I feel that maybe that the military or the industrial complex has put these people in to infiltrate and to change our minds and to make us kind of just make you think a little bit more, but they throw you in a different direction that you are wanting to go. In other words, if we're going straight for the UFOs or straight for the extraterrestrials, they kind of throw a curveball and throw you in a different direction to make you think of something else other than that, right? So that's what he thinks that these people do, right? That the government hires these people to do that. I'm not saying he is or these people are, but what if? What if they were a part of that? And what if they were paid to make you think differently or just throw you off? So that way you don't have to go and think about the UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the things that happen to people, right? Because here at Alien Strand, I made 4 films actually on contact, right? And on the actual contact with regular people, what happens to them, how they feel, PTSD, everything that they go through during actual contact with a craft or an extraterrestrial connection of some sort, right? And how it changes them, how the fear factor gets put into them. What changes through their lives? What happens to these people? And these are the people I still follow today, right? And what I'm just trying to do here is show everybody and point everybody to the truth. I'm not trying to be a millionaire. Hell no. I just want to get the information out to as many people as possible, right? And that's what we are here to do, right? That's what Alien Strand does for you, right? And the little subscriptions and things that I have, that's only to keep the channel alive. Everything costs money. So we have to pay a little bit here, pay a little bit there. And, I have a regular job, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, sometimes 50. All right. But what I'm just trying to tell you is that we're here after the truth. And the truth is that we want people to know that extraterrestrials do exist. Interdimensional beings do exist. UFOs do exist. Not just because of all the AI that's been coming out lately. It's just, oh my God. It's Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, TikTok. It's all getting flooded with AI. And you can tell 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 15 seconds. That's all you're going to get out of the video, and it'll repeat itself within 15 seconds, right? Usually a long video, over a minute, 2 minutes, it's going to be the real thing, right? Always look out for the high contrast. You already know what AI looks like. Very contrasty. In other words, the dark colors, the sharpness, everything like that. It's just too contrasty. Right? I always look at that stuff. I already know it's AI, right? So it was different when we had CGI. At least CGI kind of made you guess a little bit. But AI is just, it's too simple to just know what it is when you're watching it on your Facebook or anywhere like that, right? You already know what it is. And I get it. It's great to have that tool to show videos and pictures or even something from the past, which we're going to talk about today, of a story, right? And it's good to put it on a video because you have to recreate it somehow. And before, we would have to try to recreate it in film. And it's hard, and it's very, very expensive to recreate on film because you'd have to find actors, find characters, lighting, cameras, a whole set crew just to try to get some sort of realism into a video or a documentary or a film that you're trying to put together, or even a story, right? So And I get how AI helps. It does help a lot. It gets the visuals out to you so you can imagine what instead of imagining, you can actually see what's happening or what actually happened through the story. And I think that's a great thing. But in return, I don't like it too much because I like the actual realism of and the effort putting something together yourself and showing the true form of what these people and the emotions that they were feeling through these contacts or encounters, right? And that's what you see in my films. You're seeing their emotions, the true emotions, right? That are their facial, just everything that's happening to them while they're telling you the story. And you can't, just like I said, the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? And the eyes don't lie. Just look into somebody's eyes, you'll see exactly what's going on there, right? And that's just how we look at things and see things. And you have to. You have to think about it that way. In order to be true into the story and to the encounter that really happened. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back after these messages.
Alien Strand Podcast.
Welcome back to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying today's content of Alien Strand Podcast. If you are, please give us a thumbs up, man. If you're on Spotify, throw a little comment out there, just a little shout out, man. That way we can have a little conversation. You can do that. You know that, right? All right, guys. So, as we were talking about the actual contact of people and folks and the things that they go through, right, as far as the encounters, right? And we always try to explain that the best way we can, right? And it always happens, and even in stories of stories of the past, right? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. A story of the past. And I wanted to get the story. It's a little lengthy, but it's okay. It's a good story. Something that happened to a person that was actually inside of a UFO. And this happened in 1972 in Caribou, British Columbia, Canada. This case comes from Holly McCluskey, director of the website UFO British Columbia, right? BC. The incident took place in 1972 in a remote cabin located next to a little lake and an old abandoned sawmill in the wilderness of Caribou region of the British Columbia in Canada. The witness is an anonymous gentleman they go by the name of Steve. At this time, he was about 24 years old. He and his girlfriend went to stay in a small trapper's cabin out there, right? It was about 15 miles from the nearest town, and it was late summer afternoon when Steve stepped outside to take a look out of the scenery. And immediately he saw a dull gray saucer-shaped craft move slowly across the sky. Each was about 30 feet across and totally silent, he says. He says, I just stood there and watched them. So this was several craft. They were headed for the lake. He says, I was watching the second one go by and it zipped by me. Then he says, it zapped me. I just felt it vibrating. It started on my right side, went through my whole body really fast. Then it came across the other side of my body. As soon as they did that to me, then I knew that they were going to land by the lake. And I knew that I had to go down there right away, just to see. He rushed back into the cabin and told his girlfriend to get up and come with him to see the UFOs, he says. She said, no, I don't want to. Usually she says yes to an adventure, but despite asking her 3 times, she still declined. So Steve left her at the cabin and walked briskly to the lake, which was about 500 feet away. And sure enough, there was 2 saucers sitting on the hard rock ground about 90 feet apart from each other. He says the closer one had an open door with a ramp leading to the ground, he says. He walked up to it. He says, I could hear a low rumbling sound. Peering inside, he saw a room inside. So he walked up the ramp and into the craft. He found himself in a round room. He turned to the left. He saw 2 space aliens staring right at him. Steve says, their skin is really gray everywhere, and it's really wrinkly. Their faces are wrinkly, gray skin, and 2 big black eyes. They were about 4 feet high, he says. They were both wearing white smocks like a doctor would wear. The smocks came down past their knees, halfway to their calves. They had long sleeves on and looked like 2 little men standing there, he says. It was immediately apparent to Steve that these people were not from Earth. He felt a wave of shock of fear, looked back at the open door behind him, and considered to make a run for it. Then one ET spoke to him telepathically in a clear, concise English. He could hear it say, "It's okay, come on in." He was shocked to hear them speak in English, but they also seemed very friendly. So he walked up to them. He could now see that they had 3 fingers in each hand. Their eyes were twice the size of humans and black. No ears, just a hole. A tiny hole for a mouth with no visible lips. Small flat nose. He says it had pear-shaped heads with no hair. Ahead of him he saw tables and beds, each on a single pedestal and a 4-foot counter, he says. The walls were brown and curved up into the ceiling. The entire area looked spotless, he said. He saw a doorway leading to the wedge-shaped room. Otherwise, the room was empty. Suddenly, he blanked out. Then the next thing he knew, he felt a sensation of pain and woke up to find himself laying on one of the tables. Stark naked, feeling groggy. One of the ETs spoke up with another and said, "Hurry up, grab him, he's waking up." The ET next to Steve grabbed his arm, while the other rushed to the counter. Steve struggled at first, but was too groggy to resist, and just stared at the ETs, while the ETs stared back at him. The other returned, and Steve promptly lost consciousness again. The next thing he knew, he was standing up, holding onto a rail, and still groggy, unable to move. One ET stood behind him at the pier. Steve massaged his prostate, he says, while the other stood in the front of him and obtained a sperm sample. Again, he lost consciousness. When he woke up, he was back on the table now, fully clothed. He got up and started walking around the room. He started asking them questions, but doesn't remember what they were. His attention what appeared to be a picture on the far wall, which showed to be appeared to be 4 planets. He continued to explore the room, walking over to the other side where he saw another short counter and 2 small stools, again held up by a single pedestal. On the counter, there was a small television screen built into the counter with a small 6-inch joystick around 3 small black buttons next to it, he says. He had the impression it was under control panel for the ship and knew better than to touch it. He also looked and saw a hallway leading to another room. Strangely, he felt no fear. In fact, strangely biased. Continued to walk around. He looked down towards where he had come up the craft and saw with surprise that the door was open and it was morning. And just stared to get to the light. He had been inside the craft for the entire evening. One of the ETs walked up to him and said, "Okay, you can go now." Feeling somewhat foolish for asking, Steve asked the ET, "Can you give me something so I can prove I was here?" The alien kind of looked at me for a sec, Steve says, then turned around and walked back into the medical counter. He came back and handed me something I put out on my left hand and took it. I think it was a metal slate, about 4 inches by 6 inches. That's what I'm guessing. I never really looked at it and turned around to see if it had writing or anything on it. I turned and walked down the stairs, along the ramp, and straight out the UFO with one thing in my hand. He walked away from that craft and turning around, he saw them flying away. For some reason, he felt that they were watching him. He took the metal object they gave him and tossed it into a rotten tree stump. And it fluttered to the ground. He's not sure why he didn't take it back to the cabin. He walked back to the cabin. His girlfriend was still asleep, so he crawled into bed and fell asleep. When he woke up, he asked his girlfriend, "How come you didn't come down to the lake last night to see the UFOs?" She looked at him blankly, didn't answer. They never talked about it again. I don't know why, Steve says. I guess maybe we weren't supposed to talk about it. He went back to the UFO's landing site later that afternoon, saw a couple of tracks or indentations on the ground where the craft had rested. But he says, I never went to look back for another look for the thing that I threw in the bush. I don't know why. I kind of turned my head to look, but then I just kept walking. It wasn't long after that, maybe a couple of weeks, we went back into town. Eventually, we went our separate ways. Steve never tried to retrieve the alien artifact. He kept his encounter secret to everyone, except once, when someone he knew was talking about UFOs. He blurted out, yeah, I was in a UFO once. But as Steve says, they just looked at me and continued with that they were talking about. But he's sticking to his story every day. And during his interview in 2023, he said he was willing to take a lie detector test. And the reason he decided to come forward is because I'm 76 now, and my health isn't really good. This is the first time anybody has heard my story. I wanted to tell the story a few times throughout my life, but I didn't. I thought, well, maybe somebody wants to hear it now. So there you have it. What an interesting story that is. And what they did to him. As we've heard in the past. And he never wanted to tell anybody the story, right? I mean, who wants to say something like that? Especially what they did to him. And he remembered everything. I wonder if it was like Betty and Barney Hill, to where it took a while for them to start regaining memories and consciousness about exactly what happened or what occurred to them, right? Because that's what she said. It took time. We couldn't remember anything, and all of a sudden it started coming to us that something did happen, right? Just like this gentleman. Imagine that, just being there on a lake. You see two large craft 90 feet from each other land right in front of the lake where your cabin is at night. You go to investigate, and lo and behold, you're in there all night long. And who knows what else happened during that time. This is the only thing that he remembers, right? Whether it's a little graphic in nature, but this is exactly what does happen to people. Happened to my friend Regina up there in Arkansas, right? Happened to her in Oklahoma. They clipped a piece from her. And, you know, she was in excruciating pain. And it's graphic, but she feels like they followed her ever since then, right? What if they followed him? What if they gave him an implant? What we always talk about. Possibilities are endless. I mean, we don't know his story or what took place for the rest of his life from the 1970s till today. But who knows what dreams he was having, or even if he had any more visitations of these extraterrestrials. Let's take another quick break. We'll be back in just a minute.
Wind in my ears, flute in the dark, chimes on a string, something watching.
Alien Strand Podcast.
Clouds full of secrets, hiding in the white and gray. They wait till we're sleeping to pull us through the Milky Way. If I wake up screaming, will they let me keep my name? Clouds full of secrets and nothing will look the same. Oh.
All right, welcome back to the show. Man, I love that song. Great song, man. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content of Alien Strand Podcast. Please give us a like, subscribe, thumbs up. Enjoy this amazing content. But as we were talking about, this encounter that this gentleman Steve had, right, in the 1970s and earlier in British Columbia. It's something to experience something like that, but as traumatic as it was for him, it still had a graphic content that not easy to talk about, man. It's not. That is not easy to talk. It's like, yeah, I was once in a UFO, and guess what? They massaged my prostate and they took sperm. Who's going to say that, right? Nobody's going to say that. Kind of embarrassing, right? If you think about it, especially, as an older gentleman now, back then, people really didn't, they just called you a nut or a quack or whatever, right? And maybe that's why he didn't really tell the story as much as he wanted to, as he can, or as he did now, right? Put it in a nice context, right? For us to understand and read and get the whole full idea. I'm sure there's a lot of really, really details in there about that story that he probably didn't put in there, but at least we got the logistics of it, right? And those are the stories I like to talk about or tell, because these are ordinary people just like you and I. Nobody famous. Didn't want to make himself famous or anything like that. And some people just really don't want the attention. Travis Walton, he didn't want the attention when he got, abducted and taken for a week, right? He didn't want that attention. And then later on, it just started coming out more and more and more. And then lo and behold, he's a grandfather. He's a family man, and he loves his family and life. He had an encounter that he can't explain, and he doesn't know why him, right? And this is what happens to the people. They have this thought process of why me? And we always talk about those things, right? Why they always, it's almost like when somebody passes away, right? You get survivor's guilt, right? Why did this happen to me? Or how come it didn't happen to me instead, or whatever? It's the same thing in a sense, not to say exact, but it's the same principle, right? Because you ask yourself, why did this happen to me? So they get PTSD, post-traumatic stress. They start having nightmares, just a lot of things start happening in their lives that they can't understand. Maybe, and a lot of times they just can't take it. They have a really rough life, can't cope with it. They fight it. They have a lot of family issues, problem issues, drugs, alcohol. A lot of things do happen to people in that situation, right? But there's a way to pull yourself back, and a lot of people do pull themselves back, and they put themselves back where they need to be in life, in regular life, even though it happened to them, right? And it does happen to people. It takes a little while, but what I've noticed is a lot of people that I have interviewed or people that I have watched on interviews have gotten their lives back together, right? And they've made it better than harping or just focusing on the contact or the traumatic things that happened to them at the time, right? because it is traumatic and it just sticks with you for a long time. But there's a time for healing as well, right? Because, there's people out there that want to experience the UFOs and want to experience the contact as far as CE5s, summoning UFOs, having some kind of contact connection with UFOs and communication with UFOs or UAPs, whatever you want to call them these days. They want to have all that, right? But what makes you say you're not going to get this one entity that's going to do what they're going to do, right? It's like I said before, they have no feelings. There is no feelings with these things. They're not going to ask you permission to come get you. They're just going to get you, right? They're going to do whatever they're going to do whatever they can, right? That's what they did to this other gentleman, Steve, right? They didn't ask him. They just did it. And this is exactly what happens to people. But we learn from every story and how people cope with it as well, too. Sometimes you get to hear more of their stories or backline of exactly what happened to them later in life, how things went, and how visitation stopped. Sometimes they don't stop. I have my guests on before that. They get visited all the time, still today. And that's what contact and just being an experiencer is. When somebody asks, are you an experiencer? That's what an experiencer is. Contact. C5er. That's an experiencer as well. So sometimes you have to be careful for what you wish for or what you want. And know the true depths of not every extraterrestrial is going to be friendly. Not every extraterrestrial is the same one. There's thousands of species out there, as I've noted. And hey, it's like throwing the dice. You never know what you're going to get. But at this point, they came to him. He didn't go to them, right? He just happened to be at the right place at the right time when they showed up. And he noticed and they took notice of him, right? In this story. And that's what we have to put together with Alien Strand and with contactees and with everything that happens, right? With whistleblowers as well. The government, as we talked about. The nuclear physicists that have disappeared. Everybody has something of disclosure of some sort, right? And we have to get it out there as much as we can because, like I said, we are citizen ufologists looking for the truth. Yes, we are looking for the truth. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I did. Sorry I hadn't got one out to you before, but like I said, long story long, I did get sick and, had a little cough that I just couldn't get rid of, man. And just, I did it naturally. I didn't take all that crap. I don't go to the doctor, man. Nope, I don't do that. I do the natural stuff. But anyway, I'm glad I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I did. You can follow us on 26, 28 platforms of audio, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Follow us on YouTube, Patreon. This will be on Patreon as well. Go look us up there. You can get it for free. Go check it out. Go chat with me there. Go to our Facebook. Go to where it says all my links, right? You'll see it after this podcast. Go to the description. You'll see all my links. You can click on that. You can find everything from Alien Strand, even the films, the middle, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Go check those out, all right? They're actually on Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, TCL as well. And you can catch them all over the place. There's some free ones out there too. Go check them out. You'll enjoy them. All right. Until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Signal in the static, cold voice through the dark. Names on the blacklist, scratched into the arc. Dust on the tape deck, late night lone desk lamp, coffee stains, old case files, maps full of pinhole stamps, footsteps in the hallway, but you live here alone. You press play anyway, that the unknown speak through the tone. Welcome to the alien strand, where the wild truth slips through your hands. Every story's drawn in the sand till it's carved in your mind, in your mind. Welcome to the alien strand. Are you ready for the questions that stand? Once you hear it, you can't go back. You're crossing that line, crossing that line. Voices over phone lines swear they've seen that sky burning silver sideways, carving through the night. Chills down your backbone when the call is saying name, like they're right behind you.
Alien Strand Podcast. You want to learn about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact? Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.